On Sunday, September 8th, we got an official announcement from Kendrick Lamar in the NFL that he would be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, that's Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. And this was massive news for not only the music community, but the entire pop culture state of North America as a whole, because when you look at what happened in 2024 with Kendrick Lamar and Drake, we thought it was over, or at least maybe we thought so until yesterday, when then you actually go into the video and Kendrick Lamar has this to say: no round twos. And what's interesting about that is that we've gotten subliminals from Drake throughout the 100 gigs drops. We've gotten word from academics that there will be a game two. So in today's conversation, guys, Lou and I are just going to be having the total conversation of what does this mean for hip hop? What does it mean for music? Do we think we're going to get another part two? And how do we feel about this situation? So Lou, yesterday it was obviously a huge bombshell. There was a lot that happened. The internet was in flames. We got word that Kendrick Lamar was going to be performing at the Super Bowl. What was your initial reaction?
Man, well fucking deserved for Kendrick. I mean, this is going to be the biggest victory lap we ever see a rapper take on after winning a battle. And I think that when you really look at it, it was done in such a crazy fashion because this was the first thing he said publicly since winning the battle. Like, the first thing since after the battle is him announcing he's headlining the fucking Super Bowl. And what's cool, too, is that when you look at the way that he presented everything, there's so many Easter eggs involved with this. And with Kendrick, you could surely say, oh, this is a reach, that's a reach, but he's so intentional and so thoughtful that when you see him standing at the 50 yards line, you're going to think back to Drop and Give Me 50. When you see Kendrick firing off 5 different footballs, you think about the 5 different diss tracks that he sent out Drake's direction. But ultimately, I just feel like it's crazy to see that even though Kendrick seems to have the attitude, and I believe him, that he's done beefing with Drake and sending diss records back and forth, he's still taking every single opportunity he can to dismantle Drake and to antagonize him and to make him angry as possible. So seeing it, I'm excited, but I was very surprised too, right?
Yeah.
Because this is New Orleans, bro. Everybody expected Lil Wayne to at least be a performer here, and now, out of respect to Drake, we might not see him get on stage, but it was a complete switch around because I expected like a YMCMB type of performance out of this New Orleans Super Bowl halftime show, and now we're getting the complete opposite, and people are speaking about how this was Jay-Z's decision. But how did you feel about it?
Well, Jay-Z came out and actually spoke about the situation as a whole, and I believe the article came out from, I think it was Rolling Stone. We had posted it up on the Twitter yesterday, and this was his exact statement about the entire situation. So he said, Kendrick is truly a once-in-a-generation artist and performer. He has an unparalleled ability to define and influence culture globally. His work transcends music, and his impact will be felt for years to come. And
he's not wrong.
When you have one of the GOATs speaking about the situation, I think it's interesting because, like you said, he's not wrong. I think it was definitely the right move PR-wise, and I think that people do feel like it's insult to injury, especially after having it in New Orleans and seeing, what Lil Wayne obviously means for that community and what he means for hip-hop culture in New Orleans and within the South as a whole, and it would have been a huge victory lap for him. I just think that when the NFL looks at the opportunity of having Kendrick Lamar perform Not Like Us in front of all of those viewers, one of the biggest televised events within North America for the year, I think it's too lucrative for them. At the end of the day, it's like if they had the option to have Lil Wayne perform 6 foot, 7 foot, or a Millie versus Kendrick Lamar perform Not Like Us in 2025, I mean, any businessman is going to go into that direction. So I think that definitely there was a business play with it. And I think that, they often do this where they'll take like some of the most, important cultural moments within North America and they'll kind of like replicate that, if that makes sense, right, within their halftime show. Even looking back at, let's say, Rihanna with being pregnant, obviously, right, at one of the Super Bowl shows, I felt like that was a good PR move for them, right?
Yeah.
And that was obviously involved here. But with this, it's like, you can't ignore this. This happened. It was the biggest PR like stunt, not only in music, but in fucking culture as a whole. So, like, why not have that transcend within, let's say, the Super Bowl halftime show? So, I think it's genius PR, it's genius marketing, and it was set up in such a fashion that also bolsters hip-hop as a whole. This has really brought a lot of eyes onto hip-hop this year, when last year we were asking, like, where is mainstream hip-hop going, and where's like the value going? And with this happening now, it's like fuck. This is so many eyes on the genre.
Yeah, man, and it's really wild to know that we're very likely gonna see Not Like Us, one of the most savage diss tracks of all time, being performed in front of over 100 million people. Like, people were talking crazy about how like Back to Back was inescapable in 2015. Now you're getting a song that's gonna be almost close to a year old by the time it gets performed on that stage, and over 100 million people are going to be experiencing it. I mean, it's crazy work from Kendrick, and I think that when you look at it, when it comes to the PR moves, it's amazing to know that there was already a lot of rumblings about a new Kendrick album, and now with him fucking performing at Super Bowl, there is no doubt in my mind, and I feel like in anyone's mind, that he's also going to be dropping his new album either before the Super Bowl halftime performance. Maybe he's going to be announcing the date in front of all of those people. Regardless of what it is, it's just a genius play. And it's been genius plays from Kendrick time and time again, all the way from when this whole situation started. Even looking at how poetic it is that on First Person Shooter, you got the line, big as the what, big as the Super Bowl. And before we get a Drake Super Bowl halftime show, we get Kendrick performing on this stage for the second time, which is absolutely wild. But let's focus in on the message he had to Drake now, because this was obviously one of the biggest talking points. It's only one opportunity to win a championship, no round twos. And this was a direct response to Drake. There's no denying that, because when you go back to late August, Drake posted a video from 2004, a former Detroit Pistons basketball player, Rasheed Wallace, saying, "Y'all put it on the front page, back page, middle of the page. We will win game 2." And then he quickly deleted it. But to anyone saying that this was not about the Kendrick beef, what the fuck else is he talking about? Like, there is no doubt in my mind that he was referring to wanting to have a second chance at fighting Kendrick. And ultimately, what ends up happening after Kendrick's message at the Super Bowl, which, again, was clearly a response, you had academics hop on his Twitter and saying that round 2 will still proceed. And I don't know if he was speaking on Drake's behalf. A lot of people are saying that academics has been Drake's mouthpiece throughout this entire situation. I don't think that academic speaks for Drake in every single tweet that he puts out regarding the situation, so that's a bit of bullshit. But yeah, this seems like with that message Drake sent out that he is planning to either drop more disses aimed towards Kendrick, or maybe he's going to try to reignite the beef by sending more subliminal shots.
Absolutely.
So let's get into those subs, right?
Yeah, let's get into the subs. So when you go on to Blue, Green, Red, Drake rapped, "They're going to try and behead me and speak on the family name." Meet the Grams. I mean, right there, you know what's going on, and obviously he feels a certain way about it. And then, 4 gunshots, me none dead. So basically saying, well, I'm still not dead after all that.
4 diss tracks dedicated to me.
After all that's happened. Then after that, you have the Circadian Rhythm title track that Drake dropped on 100 gigs. By the way, I really enjoy the song. And he said, he named it Circadian Rhythm. And then after that, when you go into 616 in LA, you have this, but I live in a circadian rhythm of a shooting star.
Yeah, so he's referring to the lyrics from 616 in LA, and then he's speaking about how he's still up even after Kendrick and so many other rappers try taking him out of the rap game, the whole elimination of Drake situation.
Then after that, you have the No Face instance. This one was interesting. He said, "De-empty the clip quick, swap that shit out, and I came back reloaded. We'll see you boys soon." So, I mean, where's this going? Obviously, he's dropping these tracks. He knows the writings on the tracks. And I think that everyone in the world knows where these subliminals were coming from. And for a while, I would say from like that mid-August to at least this point in time, it felt like Drake was like trying to taunt again. And it felt like he was in a bag where he was playing, the sublims game. And we kind of called that, right? At a certain point, like maybe in the month of May, where we had the conversation of, well, where did they go from here? And you and I had the conversation of, this guy's going to be putting all kinds of sublims within his music. He did it within the 2018 beef with Pusha T. And it's something that's always been kind of natural for Drake, even before 2018 or even before 2015. He's always had subliminals in his music. He's always liked to taunt his enemies. But it's like, all of that led up to this. So it's like, where does the value lie within the 100 gigs this is now? At the end of the day, it's like Kendrick kind of stomped on that again.
Yeah.
He just stomped on it again, and that's what's like.
With one line. We just read out subs from 3 different songs.
But that's what I'm trying to say, though, is that I think what's been so interesting about this entire battle, and now it's kind of like post-battle, is that Kendrick is still using the same tactics as he did within, let's say, the heat of the battle, where it's like, let's be calculated. Let's wait for the perfect time to speak, and let's make a PR move out of this. And I feel like a lot of people also... Actually, let me flip this to you, all right? Because a lot of people on Twitter are saying, well, if it wasn't for the beef, Kendrick wouldn't do this, he wouldn't do that. But it's like, how could you slight the guy for taking one of the biggest victory laps in hip hop history? Like, call fair game. Call it what it is. Like, if this was any other rapper against any other fan base, like, we'd be championing it, And I feel like a lot of people are championing it, but I feel like for the people that are trying to critique Kendrick's moves or whatever the case may be, he has every right to do so. You went to war for 2 months,
Yeah.
Like, you're allowed to do this. This
course
is
he
something,
is.
and he's doing it in a tasteful way. You're doing it on the Super Bowl. You're doing it on the biggest stages. Like, this is bringing like an immense population into the genre. So how do you feel about Kendrick's approach in comparison to, let's say, Drake's approach post-war?
Well, I think that what that battle taught us and everything after the battle was that they're in two completely different leagues when it comes to penmanship, when it comes to war strategy. And that's exactly why I think that we don't need a round two, bro. Like, even if you want to look back to why there was a rematch for Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier, it's because the first one was the fight of the fucking century. When we're looking at Drake versus Kendrick, this was a slaughter, bro. Like, the meme with the guy wearing the Gucci backpack that's like hanging by a thread?
And he's like,
you know
"Let
what?
it go."
We'll actually put it up in post.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, let it go, bro. It's over. Everything was settled, from the calculated moves to Kendrick dropping back-to-back tracks to the quality of the tracks to the rapping ability. It was all out in front of us. Why would we need to know what a round two would look like when we already know what the outcome will be, bro? Not only that, but I want to ask you something.
Sure.
When have we ever seen a rematch in a rap battle? When have we ever seen it?
That's a tough conversation to have.
You look at Jay-Z versus Nas. When Jay-Z tried to reignite it with Blueprint 2, and he took the angle of like, oh, well, you guys might think that Nas beat me in the battle, but him engaging in a battle with me was the only way that he revived his career. He tried taking a completely new angle to reignite the fire again. No one gave a fuck. No one cared.
Because it matters in that situation. I think that you only have one opportunity to win a championship. That statement is so true. At the end of the day, like, there was a time to do this. There was a time where it happened. It was beautiful to watch two titans spar. Like you said, at a certain point, it just got ridiculous, especially when that weekend where you saw, like, when you saw Meet the Grahams and you saw Not Like Us, like, you knew it was GG's. Even after 616, when we got that, I was like, okay, like, I know where this is going. And honestly, I think it ended with the Hard Part 6. I think if there was an opportunity to continue having this go in some way, some fashion, it had to be within the Hard Part 6. And you go into that track, and like I said in previous videos, that writing was weak, it was uncalculated, and it was uncalculated also in the way that it dropped. And it was like, also, I feel like it was a perfectly wasted beat. I love that production.
Yeah, it was.
Like you can't revisit that song. That was like a situation where we saw Drake at his lowest penmanship wise within the war. That was the time to have this happen. Now, like, we're gonna extend this for another year. Like, it's also interesting because I look at what Drake's trying to do, and I understand maybe from his point of view, right? Because he wants to have the chance to do it again. He's like, man, maybe I didn't give my best. Maybe I wasn't in the best mode to do it. But that's the whole point of a battle. It's like, who's ready? Who's on their toes? Who's making that perfect move at the end of the day? And now it's like, you can't call it again when the guy that beat you is taking his victory laps.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
And he's making the same mistakes that he did with Pusha T. We saw after the Pusha T battle that he kept subbing him for years, bro. You go back to Omerta, you go back to Churchill Downs, you go back to Meltdown. There's so many tracks in which Drake tried to have the last word and didn't call him out by name, but was clearly speaking about Push. And Pusha T even recently responded to the Kendrick line of, you only get one opportunity to win a championship. There's no round twos. And he said, this is true because Pusha T has been there and he's not going to give Drake the time of day, because what we don't realize is that the war already happened. Like, things really went, like, it was a shitstorm during that time. We got multiple rounds within that war itself. It's not like you got one track each. Like, you got multiple games, multiple rounds, and we know who the victor was. At this point, when it comes to public perception and winning people over, it just took that one battle for people to know who the better MC was. So what are you going to convince them of this time around? The same way that, to go back to another example, after Drake and Meek Mill had their beef, like months later, we ended up getting a great diss track from Meek Mill called War Pain that dropped right after Summer 16. And I'm sure most people watching this right now have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about because no one cared. No one cared, bro. No one wants to see a second round when you already saw someone triumph the way that they did in a Kendrick Drake type situation. And don't get me wrong, I love rap battle culture, and I would love to see so many other greats go toe to toe, like the Freddie Gibbs, Benny the Butcher situation. We always spoke about how we would have rather have seen that on wax than the way it played out, or even getting a battle like Eminem versus Lupe Fiasco. Like, I would fucking foam at the mouth for something like that. But when it comes to something that would be as predictable as a round 2 of Drake versus Kendrick, I don't want to see it happening. But let me ask you this. Way I see it is that Kendrick is not one to repeat shit. He's probably bored of the idea of going at Drake again, but in what world could you picture something like this happening?
I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Even if Drake drops a dedicated response, think about the war move of just not even answering at this point and just performing at the Super Bowl. It would be even more embarrassing, in my opinion, because even at that, right? Think about it from a strategy standpoint. Now you've opened up the floodgates, let's say, for more conversation to be had, and it's like, okay, let's go round 2 again. Maybe by some weird chance, there's something weird that happens in round 2, and like it takes away from Kate. I don't think it happens, but it's like, Kendrick's won already. Why take the risk of having to open it up again for a second time and just go through that shit show again? And I'm sure Kendrick's obviously proud of like what he accomplished, let's say, within that rap battle, especially for the West Coast and especially for the material that was released. But at the same time, like, it's hard to do that every year, you know? Like, you're going to war, bro. Like, that's tough. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's not easy. It's not sunshine and rainbows, bro. Like, this was real life. This was shit that was happening. It's like, now let's concentrate on the album. Not only that, but how many tracks did we get? You know, think about the amount of material we got. We got Like That. We got Not Like Us. We got Meet the Grahams. We got 616. You know,
Euphoria.
you got Euphoria out of it. On Drake's side, you got Tailor Made. You got Push Ups. You got Family Matters. You got The Hard Part 6. It's like, bro, I got an album's worth of material.
We got round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Exactly. Like, where else have you seen this? At the same time, it's like, those guys are profiting off of the streams from this year. You don't need extra material. So what angles are you going to take next? All of the angles on both ends were up in the air, and they were all exposed within those tracks itself. So even from, let's say, an unpredictability standpoint from angles, what else is going to keep you entertained as a viewer?
And that's it. I think the only way that Drake could recapture the masses' interest is if he has a massive, like, nuclear bomb. I think that's the only way that he could actually do it. But that being said, I mean, Kendrick said it himself on 616 in LA. Like, you tried to, you know, run some money in the streets to get some dirt, and you came back with nothing. And that's likely what would happen again. Is, you know, there maybe just isn't anything for Drake to pull out on Kendrick, and Kendrick seems fearless when it comes to being exposed by any potential danger that
well, that's it, because even look at the angles that were taken within the battle itself. Like, you're not going to go anywhere with it, and I think that's kind of where I stand on this whole part too, is that it's overplayed, it's done, it was a beautiful moment, but it's time to get, you know, music going again. Like, one thing that we had a conversation of in a live stream is that besides this whole battle, if this battle didn't happen, the mainstream for hip hop, besides, like, let's say Metro and Future, Schoolboy Q, and Staples, like, it's been a bit on the drier side.
It has been.
So at this point in time, it's like, I want to see the big dogs drop again. You know, J. Cole maybe moved the release or two because of this whole battle. You look at Cardi with Music, right? That was supposed to drop at January at some point. It was supposed to drop in March. Who knows what happened with that release? Like, at this point in time, I'm kind of over it. I want to see releases again for the industry, and I want to see these cultural movements. So with that being said, what do you think happens on Drake's side, right? Because you have the whole 100 gig situation. There was a lot of speculation from different journalists and industry giants within the community that said, oh, well, he's doing this because of the UMG deal. Oh, well, you know, he wants to release music, but he doesn't want to do it officially. So do you think you see an official record from Drake this year? Because you're supposed to have the P&D and Drake release coming in fall or September.
Listen, man, I think Drake is in a tough spot right now. I feel like everything that he's done post beef has flopped. If you're looking at the Camila Cabello and Sexy Red features, if you're looking at the singles he's put out for 100 gigs. And that being said, the release strategy was different there. He put them up on the
They're
website
loose
first,
leaves. Yeah,
and
they're
then when
loose
they
leaves.
came out, they didn't really make much noise. So that's a bit more debatable, but it's undeniable that the momentum has clearly shifted away from Drake right now and has gone completely in Kendrick's corner. And I think the narratives right now about Drake are damaging. I do think that him showing all this BTS footage, recording sessions, it was a cool distraction. The same way that I think these subliminals and this 100 gigs, it's all a cool distraction. But at a certain point, and that point is maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, people are going to want the next chapter from Drake. They're going to want to move on from this whole situation and see what he could do again as one of the most acclaimed, celebrated artists of this generation. And that's what he needs to do, bro. He needs to take a break right now because things are not swinging in his favor. People are not fucking with the music. He seems mentally like he's still dwelling on the past. I feel like he really needs to take a break, make people miss him, like a lot of fans are saying right now, and take a year or two, bro. Make this moment transpire, make it happen. Wait for the Super Bowl to finish. Make Kendrick put out his album, and then come back and start a new leaf, bro. Because right now, nothing is landing. And I'll be honest with you, I don't mind a song like No Face or Katie and Rhythm is cool, but this is not peak Drake music, bro. I'm sorry.
It's not.
It's not peak Drake
No,
music.
absolutely. I completely agree with you. As you said, I think it was a cool marketing strategy to kind of like calm down the PR a bit, right? Like there was a lot of people reminiscing. People enjoyed the BTS footage, seeing him recording stuff like For This Thing or seeing him record trophies in the studio. Those were cool moments, right? That reminds the audience of what this man is capable of. And then you get some cool Lucy so people could, kind of celebrate him again, get the rotation going, so on and so forth. And that was all cool. But like you said, it's like we got BTS of trophies and Furthest Thing. When was the last time you got a trophies or a Furthest Thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's the conversation that I feel like a lot of people are having right now is that, like you said, this is cool, but there's going to come a point in time where a new studio album is going to be need to be released. And is it going to be on the quality of a For All the Dogs? Is it going to be on the quality of, let's say, a Certified Lover Boy? I'm sorry. I think that there's a lot of people that maybe enjoy those projects and those track lists, but you go through the vocals of those albums and you look at the records that were released; those are not the strongest cuts within his catalog. There's a clear decline.
Yeah, there is.
There's
definitely
a clear decline, and that's being an honest Drake fan here. Like we have fucking Take Care on the Wall. Like I'm not saying this out of someone that's ignorant. Like I've been a part of this guy's journey, like listening to his music for such a long time, and there is a clear decline. Now, do I think he could get it back to where maybe he got it, let's say 10 years ago? Absolutely. You never really lose the talent, but it's like there has to be a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
You could do all the example of what happened this weekend. This is the perfect example. He did marketing for almost a month with 100 gigs, dropped new tracks, dropped the BTS. It got trumped within one post. Think about it, Lou. Like, think about the strategy. Like, you could do all the marketing you want at a certain point, but like Kendrick literally just had to say, "I'm performing at the Super Bowl," and it's over.
Yeah,
and it's over. And think about this: like, Kendrick announced that, and he didn't necessarily directly mention Drake's name in any material, whatever the case.
He was talking to Drake, though.
He was talking to Drake, obviously, but it's like he could do it subliminally, and everyone's just gonna go back to his favor, and everyone's gonna mention Drake again, and Drake's name's gonna be trending, but in a different light. So it's like, how do you stay away from that? Go quiet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go quiet. At a certain point, you gotta go quiet.
Bro, we haven't had a Drake break since like 2014 was like the 1 year where he wasn't really active.
But you also got singles that year, but at the same time, like, you didn't get an official release. He had taken a large break, I believe, in that summer.
Not only that, but like it almost points to, and I'm not saying this is why he's testing the waters with these 100 gig singles, but like we want you to come back confident, dropping singles that are officially released, that are part of a bigger plan, that have an album in its way, because I mean, right now, everything that he's doing is being scrutinized. I feel like there's way too many narratives going against him. For example, one of them being that the numbers on the latest material, it's declining from the beef on. Everything has been not as high as we're used to seeing from Drake. The music is not the best quality besides a couple of tracks that you've gotten out of all 18 that he's released this year. And there's obviously the conversation that he's not in the same league as an MC as Kendrick. So right now it seems like every step he's taking is a step back. So I feel like we're saying, bro, he needs to let Kendrick's moment ride out, go into the sunset for a little bit, chill out, and then come back when it's time, when people miss him, when he has, like you said, that change of focus, a new mindset, a new mentality for making a quality studio
I think
album
you have to
that's
be
passionate.
inspired. Yeah, you have to be inspired to make the music, right? Like creativity is always fueled by life's experiences, and if he went through something as damaging as he did this year, like what do you think the material is going to reflect?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be weaker, or it's going to come out with a certain motive. Like you said, in 2018 with the Pusha T battle, this goes back to this. Like you go through Scorpion, like there was a lot of stuff that could have been left on the cutting board if it wasn't for that battle. Maybe you did get a more focused release, and there was so much potential with that track list. I absolutely love it, but there were certain things that could have been left.
Mm-hmm.
Certain cuts on that album could have been stronger writing wise if that thing didn't happen. So I think that's the situation. Another conversation I want to have is everything that's going on, let's say, with the industry versus Drake, right? Because it doesn't seem like it's letting down. You're getting all of these subliminals from Kendrick. You have the Rocky material that's coming out as well. There was the whole thing of like Spotify. There was like just all these types of different things that are working against him. So do you think that ever gets back to a point to where like the industry's like, okay, you're cool, you know, or like whatever it is? Or do you think it ever gets back to like we're collaborating again, you know, we're in a good place? Because you also had Quavo, let's say, that you know spoke for him on his IG story. Like there's been things that have happened, but it still feels like the entire industry is against Drake and the entire community is against him as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything new. I think that Drake knows what comes with being one of the top guys, that you're always going to have people trying to gun at you for that spot. And when it comes to the other industry politics, I mean, I think he can combat all of that, bro. Ultimately, he's Drake. I don't think that this Kendrick loss that he suffered or anything when it comes to a rap battle or some declining numbers in singles are gonna completely dismantle Drake, bro. This guy is still one of the most listened to artists in the world when you look at who's getting the most streams per month, etc. Like, people are not going to stop listening to Drake because he lost a battle. And I don't think that an ASAP Rocky diss or him not being favored when it comes to playlisting or whatever the case may be is truly going to affect his work in a massive way, in a way that belittles him to a lower sized artist. I think it's going to come down to the quality of material he puts out. If he keeps putting out mediocre music, then that's what's going to maybe lead to his downfall, which a lot of people are talking about.
Well,
now.
that's also another conversation point, was that like the Kendrick Lamar battle was just the cherry on top. This was years in the making.
Yeah.
This was years in the making, and I think a lot of fans are kind of like not understanding the part of this process, right? Going back to, I would say, maybe Scorpion, because at the same time, like that's what, like more Life was solid, but people respected it as a playlist. You had songs that rang off. It's super consistent. It's a fan favorite, but like people started to even see the decline after CLB. So it's like, if you're gonna go into these battles, but you're not releasing your best material, you're not in the best state creatively, you're releasing kind of mediocre music. We gave For All the Dogs a mid rating. What happens there? You know, what type of form are you going into a battle?
Yeah.
What type of form are you in right now to be able to go into a round two, let alone... You get what I'm trying to say?
Not only that, but even if he did get the round two, like, we heard Kendrick loud and clear, bro. How many stocks do I really got in stock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5. Like, Kendrick would do what he just did right before, bro. Like, he would annihilate him again. There's no doubt on
because even talking about that situation, it's like, imagine the round two starts, right? And Drake decides to release an official diss track. Bro, I'm going to open up my Twitter and see 30 seconds later, boom, link to a new song.
Yeah.
And he won't even have to match the material.
He won't.
It's just going to be funny. And I think that the community at the same time won't even care, bro. They won't care. So I think, listen, the official verdict for me from this point on, dude, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let him take the victory lap. Let him enjoy it, man. At a certain point, it's like, I know it sucks. I know it's hard to swallow.
It's a hard pill to swallow,
it's
bro.
a hard pill.
When you're hearing people calling you a PDF file in front of 100 million people, that is a tough pill to swallow.
That is crazy
It's
PR work.
wild,
That is
bro.
that's a wild move. But I think for him, it's like, you're gonna have to sit there and you're gonna have to kind of watch it.
I don't think he does. That's a prediction.
You don't think he does?
I think that Drake is going to try to rewrite the history books, because I don't think he can stomach another loss. We saw when he was speaking about accepting that loss to Pusha T in that Rap Radar interview, that fucking hurt him, bro. And I don't think he's gonna let this one go. I hope that he does. I think it's in his best interest. I think it's in the best interest of just the culture, the genre. Like we don't need it. But ultimately, it's Kendrick season, bro. Super Bowl halftime show, a brand new album. All the momentum is there. This song is not going anywhere, bro. It's not going anywhere, bro. I was in the DR weeks ago, bro, and they were playing this song 3 times a day. This is a global song, bro. It's fucking global, bro. And I don't care about the Twitter narratives I see that, oh, it's just a Rap Caviar song and no one actually is still listening to it. No, bro. Like, people are listening to this song, like it or not. If it's overplayed or not, this song is here to stay. And I think Drake is just going to have to accept that he took the loss again. It's what it is. But guys, let us know down in the comments. How do you feel about this situation? Do you hope to see a round 2 out of this battle? And we're going to be keeping you guys posted on everything when it comes to new material from both of these artists and a possible round 2, which, as we said, we don't think will happen. Thanks for watching until the end, and we'll see you next time. Peace.